Ta-da! It's me! Welcome to Award Travel 101 Live. I'm Richard Kerr, your founder, and happy 2018, everybody. I hope you had a great New Year's, great time celebrating out there, no matter where you are in the United States, unless it's Hawaii or Southern California. It is freezing cold, 14 degrees this morning. Hey, tonight we're talking about one of the most accessible frequent flyer programs that everybody can earn a lot of miles in that you've all ignored and you really shouldn't. Hey, I got a new friend with me in the Facebook Lives. This is my new Samson Studio recording microphone. While you comment, as always, where you're tuning in from tonight, let me know what you think about the sound quality and if it's making enough of a difference for you. I want to make sure we're putting a good product out there every single week here in Award Travel 101. And look at this awesome shirt, too. Look at my Dreamliner shirt that one of you members sent me for Christmas. I'm really loving these shirts that you guys are sending me. I can really send them wear them every single day. Hey, Brander, Happy New Year's. Good to see you guys. Please let me know where you're tuning in from as I go through my usual introductions. If you're new to Award Travel 101 Live, there are two things that I'm passionate about besides points and miles. Number one is bourbon, and number two is gummies. So every single week I introduce a bourbon of the week. Let me introduce you to the 2018 Bourbon of the Year for Award Travel 101. Nice Purified Spring Water. That's right, Nice Purified Spring Water. Brought to you by the I Love Lucy show, because we're going to go healthy here in January 2018 and see how long we last. So cheers to everybody who's drinking this week's Bourbon of the Week. All right, I've got Tony working in the background, moderating as always. She'll be in the comments putting up a few links that I'm talking about. And then we're going to do some screen sharing tonight. And everybody here, no matter how experienced you are, is going to learn something. A lot of Austin, Texas in the house tonight. Hey, remember, I've got a pinned comment up that you can support the group by getting your next rewards earning credit card through the links in the pinned post. My same spiel that you've heard every single week. Protect that credit score. Have a plan to meet minimum spend. Never carry a balance. Life happens. If that's going to be the case, make sure you get a 0% APR, a 0% balance transfer fee credit card. If you use those links, there's a good chance I'm going to get paid a commission. I really appreciate the support and being able to spread this knowledge on a weekly basis and have a lot of fun. Hey, it's good to see you, Michael from D.C. Tony working hard, super cold in Utah. Yeah, no kidding, 14 degrees in Georgia. Do you know what we do when it's 14 degrees in Georgia? I put a sweater on, I put a sweatshirt on, I put a hat on, I put gloves on, and that's inside. We don't go outside. It's too cold to do that. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, this is the very last week to support our holiday drive. This is a city very important to me, Charleston, South Carolina, where my parents grew up, where my grandparents still to this day are, that I visit a lot of the time. There's an organization there called Charleston Hope that is doing a lot of great stuff. Tony just put the link to the pin post, but she's going to put the link to the post where you can support this organization that goes into Title I schools and make sure that those kids and those teachers have what they need on a year-round basis. Tony, please put that link up to Charleston Hope. You can support anywhere from $10 on up to supporting an entire classroom. This is the last week to do it. I love that city. I love what this organization does, nationally registered 501c3, and we need to make sure that we're spreading the goodness here in Award Travel 101. Besides that, one really big announcement for us. Hey, the Award Travel 101 YouTube channel is alive and well and picking up subscribers. Everybody asks, where can I go and find these videos if I'm not going to make the live? And we decided to park them on a nice YouTube channel where people can easily find them, rather than having to dig through the page on Facebook, where Facebook did a little bit of a bad job of hiding these videos. So Tony's going to put up the link to that YouTube channel. Subscribe. If you can't make the live show, you're going to get an email notification when my next video comes out. We've got some interviews coming up. We have some on the location, in airport and airplane Facebook Lives coming up. It's just a lot of good information and some reference material. So make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right. Let's get into Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. So a lot of misconceptions, and I am equally as guilty as probably many of you about ignoring this program. So why does the Virgin Atlantic Flying Club get such a bad rap? Well, if you're a little bit familiar, everybody's going to say the same thing. They're going to say those daggum YQ, what we call fuel surcharges, are out of control. It's an award ticket, but I'm paying $450, $500, $1,300 on an award ticket for a business class seat. And that's just ridiculous. So forget this program. It's out of here. I don't want anything to do with it. And I was guilty. Hey, just like you guys and gals, 2017 was a year of throwing that program to the side. And I was wrong. And I'm going to tell you why I was wrong about that tonight. Anybody who uses Virgin Atlantic, I know we have several viewers from the UK and members from London that tune in. Tell me what you do like about the program and why you've stuck with it, and I hope I'm going to back you up with some of this data here tonight. So when you're looking at some of the bad redemptions that Virgin Atlantic puts out there, right? So you can use miles for a companion seat when you're on a paid ticket. So if I pay for a ticket and I want my wife, Emily, to fly with me, I can use miles to do that. And you're thinking, hey, that sounds like a great deal. Well, boop, not a good deal. You got to buy an expensive economy ticket, so it can't be one of the cheap fare classes. And then on top of that, not only do you pay 25,000 miles for a companion economy ticket, which, by the way, is pretty much what they cost anyways. You're going to pay $450 in taxes and fuel surcharges on a companion ticket. You can fly to London for $450 any time now with all these fare sales going on. So, boop, get out of here. Economy round trip, $450. Like I just said, you can fly for that. You're going to see me glance over to the side. I've got all my notes here on my second monitor because we're getting fancy with second monitors and logos and microphones here in World Travel 101. And then, so upper class, 95,000 miles round trip. Hey, that's not bad for transatlantic business class. And by all accounts, it's an absolutely wonderful ride. I'm not dissing the airline's product. I'm talking about their frequent flyer program. But $1,248 in taxes and fees on a business class award ticket. Like, who writes this stuff? Who thinks this is a good idea? Do they say, hey, college interns, you guys come in here and write this award chart and see how much money we can make off of these suckers? You know what? People redeem it every day because they just don't know. They're not members of Award Travel 101, and I want you to know why this gets a bad rap. All right, the very last horrible, terrible way to use Virgin Atlantic miles is miles and money. So if a ticket costs $500, you can then use miles to offset that. But the rate is for every 3,000 miles, you're going to get 18 pounds, which is about $24, $25 in credit. So 3,000 miles for $25 in credit, that's value in your miles, $8 per thousand, so 0.08 cents. Like, ugh, good grief, that's just awful. So a lot of bad things, and because of this, people have thrown the program off, and then a little bit of a wonky website, which we're going to talk about in a second. So that's why they got the misconceptions. That's why I threw it off to the side, because I didn't do my homework, which I pride myself on, and digging in these programs and seeing, hey, what's good about this stuff? What do I want to know, right? So why shouldn't you ignore it? Well, number one, super easy to get an absolute metric ton. I said metric. I know British, you guys are still imperial like us, so don't understand why. But you get a metric ton at miles because they're transfer partners of Amex, Citi, and Thank You. And guess what? They routinely run transfer bonuses like Amex just did last fall, of 30%, dropping all the incredible prices I'm going to talk about an additional 30%. So if you have Thank You points, if you have Ultimate Rewards, if you have American Express membership rewards, you can get all of those into your single Virgin Atlantic account. And congratulations, you got a lot of these. On top of that, Bank of America has a Virgin Atlantic Flying Club card. They have sign-up bonuses up to 90,000 miles. Now, given the weird structure, you have to spend money to qualify for all 90,000 of those miles. It can take up to a year to get all of them, but it's still a 90,000 mile bonus. And as we're going to see in a second, that's a lot of Virgin Atlantic miles you can do some cool stuff with. So right now the bonus is only 20,000. So somebody was talking earlier in the group today about, hey, should I apply for the Virgin Atlantic card? No, it's only 20,000 right now. As recently as October of last year, it was 90,000. So you can get a ton. All right. So you can get a ton. You shouldn't throw it off. Why? Here are some of the first redemptions that you need to know about. If anybody's ever flown any of these airlines or products, please put it in the comments. I want you to let everybody know how great of a deal it actually is. The one redemption that I would do on Virgin Atlantic's own metal, when I say metal, I mean the planes that they operate, it says Virgin Atlantic on the side, is the premium economy transatlantic from the East Coast. Now, you can kind of rough it. I say economy, transatlantic, going that way. It's a quick flight, less than 7 hours sometimes. I'm perfectly happy sucking it up in economy for that overnight flight. You're going to be messed up anyways. So just get through it and save the miles. However, for 17,500 Virgin Atlantic Flying Club miles, you can fly premium economy, and it's a very nice premium economy, 232, great for a family. And that's nothing to get over to Europe and a little bit extra comfort. Now, it is $200 in YQ or fuel surcharges, and that's only reasonable in my mind because of 17,500 miles. If it was any more miles than that, plus $200, it would be a little bit too expensive, but because the mileage is so low, I'm pretty happy to pay $200, especially if I can put it on my Barclay card arrival card and erase it anyways with my arrival points. Then I really am getting that ticket for absolutely free. So premium economy, really great. Deb says, yeah, really nice. 17,500 miles, $200. Hey, all day, it's the go-to way to get to Europe now. And guess what? The award availability is pretty swell. I'm a family of four, even though my little one is less than 2, which means she doesn't need her own seat. I find myself looking at programs for at least 4 seats on flights to prepare for the future. And Virgin Atlantic has that with their premium economy. So that is number one. All right, so let's move into the nitty-gritty, the juicy, the good stuff. All right, so Tony's going to put a link up here to Virgin Atlantic and all of their partner airlines. Remember, if you're new to this game, just because you have Virgin Atlantic miles does not mean you have to fly Virgin Atlantic flights. You can redeem Virgin Atlantic miles through Virgin Atlantic and fly all of their wonderful partners. And a few of them charge extremely reasonable amounts of miles. So number one, which has been written at in length in the blogs lately, so I'm going to get it out of the way first, is ANA, All Nippon Airways. Wonderful ride, absolutely fantastic. You can use Virgin Atlantic miles, and in first class from the East Coast, it is 120,000 miles round trip from the East Coast to Tokyo, and 110,000 round trip first class from the West Coast to Tokyo. Now, 120,000 round trip first class Trans-Pacific and a Transcon is absolutely ridiculous. So that's fantastic. And business class is 95,000 from the East Coast, 90,000 from the West Coast. Round trip. Absolutely fantastic. If you're thinking I got 30,000 city, 30,000 Amex, and 30,000 Ultra Rewards, congrats, you have yourself a round trip business class ticket to Tokyo from the States on ANA. And let me tell you, after living in Tokyo for 3 years, there's no such thing as flying too much ANA. Just an absolutely fantastic ride. I love the Japanese people with all of my heart. I miss it every day, and I can't wait until I get on that plane again. So that's number one. Number two, Air China. A really peculiar route. Air China is a Star Alliance member. Virgin Atlantic is not in an alliance, so they can partner with anybody they like. And you can fly one whole route, one single route on Air China using Virgin Atlantic miles, and that happens to be from London to Beijing. Now, get this pricing right, 75,000 miles round trip, first class, London to Beijing. They call it Forbidden First, brand new 777-300ER, extended range. They are absolutely fantastic product. Not one of the fantastic as in the best first class, but still 75,000 miles for first class on what is a 12-hour flight each way or something like that. Good grief, that's ridiculous. Now, it is going to set you back a little bit in the fuel surcharges, but I'm willing to pay some fuel surcharges, especially, again, if I can wipe it out with cashback earnings or Barclay Card Arrival Plus and only pay that little ridiculous amount of miles. All right, so business class, only 12,000 less, 63,000 round trip. That's just as ridiculous. And if you're getting on the brand new 777-300ER, which they are going to use for a flagship route from Beijing to London, it's going to be an absolutely swell ride, and you're paying absolutely nothing for it. So don't forget about that route. They partner with Hawaiian Airlines. Let's go over to the Pacific Ocean now. A route that people forget that Hawaiian flies all the time is Honolulu to Tahiti. People always say it's too hard to get to Tahiti. There's no award availability. Hawaiian flies there once a week for pretty much year-round, and almost every single date has award availability that you can book. So people forget, and it's like, oh darn, I got to go do a stopover in Hawaii on my way to Tahiti. What a terrible vacation. And it's not going to cost me very many miles because I can redeem it all through Virgin Atlantic. And I can get a crap ton of Virgin Atlantic miles without hardly trying. So from Honolulu to Tahiti is 47,500 miles in business class one way. From the West Coast to Hawaii, 40,000 round trip in economy, 80,000 round trip in business. So a really good deal. Now, my one question, which I haven't found the answer to, is Hawaiian flies to JFK with their brand new A330s. A really great product, and that route is not on the award chart. So I need to call up Virgin Atlantic, which I didn't have time to do today, to say, hey, how many miles is it to fly that New York to Hawaii route? Because it was 80,000 round trip as well, just like the West Coast. That's a pretty good deal for that flight, and I look forward to booking that one day soon. All right, moving on to the next partner, South African. Some really peculiar routes here, but hey, it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't peculiar. So you can fly the Fifth Freedom route on South African Airways from Washington Dulles to Senegal, which is in a little bit of turmoil right now, but typically flies, I think, 3 times a week. Get this, round trip, business class across the Atlantic to Africa 50,000 miles in business, 40,000 in economy. 2 comments. Don't know why you want to go to Senegal, but if you just want to get to Africa and hop off from there, it's an absolutely cheap way to fly business. And if you redeem 40,000 miles for economy, but not 50,000 for business, I'm going to kick you out of the group. So don't do that, okay? Pay the extra 10,000 and fly business class. Sticking with South African, from New York to Johannesburg, 75,000 one way in business. Not a bad deal. United charges you 80,000 one way, so save 5,000 miles and book it through Virgin Atlantic. And then finally, Johannesburg to Mauritius. It is 25,000 one way for the 4-hour flight in business, 20,000 one way in economy. Again, pay the extra 5,000 and fly in business class, or I'm kicking you out of the group because you can board another 5,000 miles. I did get a new microphone, and we're getting professional here with my cool t-shirts and everything. All right, so if you want to go to Mauritius, remember, a lot of people say it's too hard to get there. Well, just fly South African Airways, have a wonderful winery tour in Johannesburg, and then head on over to Mauritius, courtesy of barely any Virgin Atlantic miles. All right, the next to the last partner I'm going to talk about is Air New Zealand. I hope everybody's taking notes. Like, I had to take notes for this. You guys should be taking notes because there's too much goodness here to ignore this program any longer in some of these routes when you're looking for your next world tour. Air New Zealand, round trip, Auckland to Narita. I flew this route round trip before they had their brand new 7879 Dreamliner. It's only 80,000 miles round trip. That's like a 10-hour flight each way. So 20 hours of Dreamliner business class for 80,000 Virgin Atlantic miles, which again, for the 18th time, are super easy to get a lot of because they transfer from everyone. That doesn't include SPG, which I didn't even mention, right? Another 5,000 miles for every 20,000 you transfer in. The last route on Air New Zealand is Auckland to Los Angeles, 90,000 round trip in business. That is the cheapest round trip business class ticket that I am aware of from South Pacific to United States. Now, here's the tough part, availability, right? How much availability does Air New Zealand make to their partners on that route in business class? Not a lot at all. So if you happen to see that or spot that, you need to go ahead and book that or send me a message so that I can book it for only 90,000 round trip from the U.S. to Australia. Everybody else charges almost that one way, if not more than that one way. All right, so that's Air New Zealand. The last partner I'm going to spend a little bit of time on because 30 minutes is quickly catching up on me. If somebody's rooting for the beard, you have to talk to Emily, my wife, about that, whether she's rooting for it or not. All right, so Delta, and then some more Delta and Delta. If you are booking Delta flights with SkyMiles, 95% of the time you're wrong. You need to be doing it with Flying Blue Miles, or you need to be doing it, more importantly, with Virgin Atlantic Miles. I'll tell you why Virgin Atlantic is better than Flying Blue or other SkyTeam partners. Typically, in order to book Delta flights with a partner program like Korean, you need to make sure that there are saver level availability with Delta. So that means there needs to be flights available at the cheapest amount of Delta Sky Miles in order to use a partner program to book it. Not with Virgin Atlantic. I have no idea why, but they have access to flights that you can book for 12,500 miles one way domestically that Sky Miles wants 40,000 miles for. So, prime example, last month, Emily and I flew from Atlanta to San Francisco. We each paid 25,000 miles round trip, 12,500 miles one way. Delta wanted 40,000 Sky Miles per person for the nonstop Atlanta to San Francisco flight. That means instead of paying 160,000 Delta Sky Miles for the exact same flights, I paid 50,000 total Virgin Atlantic miles. It saved me 110,000 miles by booking through Virgin Atlantic. And those flights were not available at the lowest level of availability on Delta. I booked it through Virgin Atlantic, and you can do it online. So let's take a look here. And I'm going to walk you through a few things on this really, really weird website that they have. So let me pull up Chrome. Oops. Let me get rid of this one. Yes, keep me logged in. Look at that, made it by 13 seconds. Oh, what a pro. All right, so here is the Virgin Atlantic main award search booking engine. You need to know a few things about this. How do you get there? First of all, book a flight. You need to log in. It looks like it may have already kicked me out. Nobody steal my password. Oh, you can't see it. Too bad. All right, so book a flight. Now, there's no separate award search engine. You just need to go and click this little option down here in the middle that says Pay with Miles on the radio button. Now, this site gets very wonky. As soon as you go up to the top and enter your search, sometimes that button is grayed out to where you cannot select it. I have not figured out a surefire way to get this to be selectable every single time. So what I typically do is I type in my home airport right now, ATL, and then I'll type in, let's say, Delta flies to Tokyo from Atlanta. Well, it doesn't show up, right? So what I'll do, one thing after I type in Atlanta, is go down, make sure I can still select this Pay with Miles button, and then you have to click this little arrow here on the right side of the box, and you have to go to individual countries. Scroll down, and Japan is indeed here, and I select Tokyo Narita Airport, and now I can fill in that box with Narita. So while I couldn't type in NRT, I couldn't type in Tokyo, I could go to that little arrow and select the airport. So I always search award travel one way just because it's much easier to piece together that way. I'll search sometime in April. Always bring up the 5-week calendar, and let's see if any Delta flights populate. And it looks like there still needs some more information. Again, this website, I'm telling you, it's super weird. Oh, I didn't select the date. How about that? It makes me a little paranoid sometimes. So, what do you know? Look at that. 52,500 miles, $5.60. Remember, no fuel surcharges when you use Virgin Atlantic to fly Delta, even on these long-haul routes. All right, so I'm going to refine the search. Advanced search options, bring up upper class is what Virgin Atlantic calls business class. And we'll see if they got any Delta One seats available. So here is one day in May where it's 60,000 miles and $5.60 to fly, operated by Delta Airlines. This is probably the 777-200 long range, which has the newest seats besides the A350. And it's only 60,000 miles and $5.60. So that is on May the 8th. Let's see what Delta would charge for this exact same flight if I wanted to use miles in business class. It's probably 80,000. It was May the 8th, I think. Exact date, miles, one person. And let's see if we can save some miles using Virgin Atlantic. And also, Virgin Atlantic indeed has access to non-Delta availability. So we'll go over here, Delta One, update the results. You guys and gals should really be familiar with these sites to know exactly where to go to quickly and efficiently find the best available award seats. Wow. Am I on the right date? Let's see what the nonstop is. 240,000 sky miles. That can't be right. What flight is this? So Tuesday, May the 8th, Delta Flight 295, 60,000 miles. Wow. Tuesday, May the 8th, Delta Flight 295, 240,000 miles to fly Delta One, or we can fly, well, that's even better than I could have ever dreamt. That's 180,000 miles that we just saved by booking through Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. Now that is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't know why everybody in the world is not on top of the building screaming at this stuff, because that's just cotton picking amazing. The same goes, like I was saying, for the domestic searches, where again you have to force in the airport code by going that little arrow I showed you, and then it shows up 12,500 miles for flights that Delta just wants an extremely ridiculous amount of sky miles for. So just right there, you got all of your value in Award Travel 101 by watching this video and learning how to book these Delta flights with Virgin Atlantic miles. So that's absolutely crazy. You really need to get familiar with that website, and if that radio button is grayed out, that you can't select Pay with Miles, start all over again and get to one where you finally can select it. It's just super weird like that. But I absolutely love it, and that's why I wanted to make an entire Facebook Live video about it. So with that, let me go back to my note sheet and make sure that's everything I wanted to cover. Again, I'm not drawing all of the red circles and arrows to everything that's possible with Delta and Virgin Atlantic. Something you do need to know is that they charge you by segment, so it's really only valuable for nonstop Delta flights. But just absolutely incredible there that you're able to save 180,000 miles for the exact same flight because you're booking with Virgin Atlantic. And again, I don't know why they're different and they have access to non-saver availability just like that. But it just encourages me every time to go back and search a little bit more to see if I can find some more nuggets just like that. All right. Oh yeah, a few things I did want to cover. Hey, Tony's going to put up a link to an article about sweet spot reviews, and I'm going to get to some questions while she does this. This is a great article over on the Award Wallet blog. Obviously, I'm now a proud partner and a proud piece of the Award Wallet family. If you don't follow the Award Wallet blog, those guys are churning out information all the time. It's just not picked up for some reason in the world, and I'm just loving eating it up. So Tony's going to put this link in there. While I get to these questions, one more thing I did want to cover is a few of the more outlandish and outrageous things you can do with Virgin Atlantic miles. So these do have some stipulations to them, so don't get too excited too quickly. But for 2 million Virgin Atlantic miles, you can enter the space flight lottery to get a ticket on the Virgin Galactic flights that go into suborbital space. Should be starting maybe this year or next year. 1.2 million nights, you can do 7 nights at Sir Richard Branson's luxury Necker Island, where President Obama and Michelle went as soon as he got out of office to vacation for a week with him. It did take some significant damage in the hurricanes this year, so I don't know the latest on what the bookings are for that. Also, Greg over at the Frequent Miler did book this last year and went for a week, so it's absolutely possible. You do have to have gold or silver Virgin Atlantic Flying Club status, which if you are a what is that card? There's one of those membership cards where if you sign up for the card, you can get the trial status with them, which makes you eligible for some of these redemptions. Besides Necker Island, Richard Branson has several other game reserves in Africa. He's got a Swiss Alps retreat. You can book all of these fantastic experiences if you happen to have between typically 500 and 800,000 Virgin Atlantic miles, which if you have a lot of Amex and Chase Ultimate Rewards, again, those big numbers come right back into play. All right, so one more time, Tony, please put up the link to our YouTube channel so everybody can subscribe and watch these videos on demand and get notified when I put a new video up. I hope you found a lot of valuable information. If you have questions, now's the time to ask them there in the comments while I go back up to the top and see what Tony's got for me. So John says, fuel surcharges on the Auckland to LAX round trip. My guesstimation is that they would be about $300. Now, round trip business class, that's nothing, especially if you're only paying 90,000 miles. But again, on that route, availability, man, it's just rough. You know, I don't recall seeing that in a long time, but it's possible. Probably really close in within a day or two of departure. All right, what's the Hawaii zoning on Delta? Is this a viable alternative to Korea? So you just need to go search Virgin Atlantic, the website like I just did, and see if you can find those Delta operated flights from anywhere in the States to Hawaii on the routes. I would search out of Seattle and Salt Lake City, and you can see the pricing there. So when I was talking about Hawaii, that was specifically Hawaiian Airlines operated flights, not Delta, but that doesn't mean that you can't go search right now for Delta operated flights on the Virgin Atlantic website and book it yourself. Michael says, apply for the Amex Platinum or Platinum Biz to generate membership rewards for this. Believe I've heard you have a preference for Platinum Business. I do, because of the 35% pay with points rebate. Used to be 50%, now it's 35%. Thankfully, I'm still grandfathered in until May with my 50%, but that just makes all of your points, in my case, worth 2 cents each towards redeeming towards airfare, which is then treated as paid airfare. So it's great. Even with 35% rebate, it makes it worth 1.57, which is better than the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So I can redeem towards revenue airfare anytime I want, get 35% of the points back for economy in a selected airline or any business and first class tickets. And that's why I like the Business Platinum over the Platinum. If you're going to do that, wait for one of those 100,000 sign-up offers. If you do get the 100,000 sign-up offer, it's typically going to be a really high spend, like $10,000. So make sure you can meet that without any funny business, because if you do funny business with Amex cards now, they're not going to give you the points. Mary says, any ideas of how the availability on the London to China and the YQ out of London probably high? Was that like a hi at the end of the question? Like, hey, answer my question. I said hi. That was funny. Availability is actually pretty good. And you can go on United.com and search for that route. And any day that you see Air China has a flight available for booking with United miles, you're going to be able to book it with Virgin Atlantic miles as well. YQ, like I said, is going to be probably pretty rough, maybe $400. But again, if you're only paying 75,000 miles for round trip, forbidden first class, I'm more than happy to pay $400, especially if I've saved up some cashback earnings or Barclay card Arrival Plus points, which you're going to knock out those charges and get it to me for completely free. All right, Tony, do I have any questions left? Let me check my phone here. Sometimes she messages me there. Hey, I got the new iPhone 10, and I got it for $350. I got it because last year I got the Citi AT&T Access More card, which the sign-up bonus is a $650 credit towards a new phone bought through AT&T. So I held on to it until I knew these phones were coming out, and I redeemed my 650 credit this week and got the new iPhone 10 for $350. So I'm pretty happy about that. Really neat. The camera quality is great. I hope you're going to be able to see an uptick in my pictures with this new iPhone 10. With that, I'm already past my 30-minute mark. It's 36 minutes. Tony, thank you so much. Everybody say hi, and thanks, Tony, for working hard in the back. Oh, wait, Eileen just came up real quick. ANA East Coast flights to Narita. Are they from JFK, LaGuardia, or EWR? All international flights are from JFK except for a few Air Canada flights. So you're going to fly ANA out of JFK. With that, everybody, have a great new year. If you made those resolutions, let's really stick to them. I'm drinking water instead of bourbon. Don't leave me hanging out here and blow off those resolutions in the first weeks. Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to catch you next time right here at Award Travel 101 Live.